So I'm a bit of hybrid between Bristol and India, and have worked in the same sort of cities as well in past. I stayed, I was calling Bristol my home for 7 years. I'm an architect by background, and sustainable design has been part of my whole career. Started my career with the world's first LEED platinum building outside the US called Green Business Center in Hyderabad, and has been going on for a long time now. Over to you, Vimal.
Hi, hi everyone. I'm Vimal, based in Hong Kong. So hello from Hong Kong. I'm a structural engineer and currently work as an associate with Bureau Happold Hong Kong. I'm very passionate about applying engineering and technology to create better living outcomes for the society. And the flavor of for my past 2 months had been working closely with other engineers and other engineering streams to design net zero office towers in Hong Kong. I'm also part of the C Lab at Bureau Happold, where C Lab is a platform where we young professionals are given opportunity to apply our knowledge and skills to influence real change in the communities. And I really want to do this for building the sustainable societies in India. And we are going to talk more about it in our presentation. So a little bit about the collaboration we had been doing with Urban and SCAD over almost a year now. So we collaborated on a Center for Sustainability, which SCAD is currently working on. It's basically a small organization and also a physical infrastructure building to develop a Center for Sustainability. What we did with SCAD and other stakeholders is run a design sprint with them so that it helps them in prioritizing their objectives, what they want to achieve through the center, and also prioritize the activities they want to take up through the center, which activities should be done first and which activities should be done later, and so on. SCAD has started working on various activities of the center, and what's coming next is Bureau Happold and I working with them to structure some of the courses which are focused on sustainability and also help them in designing the energy efficient features for the existing houses or even the new houses they are going to build. And also some courses around the construction materials. Like so far, many of the speakers have covered that how it's important to focus on the innovation in construction materials, and it's going to be an important aspect. The other collaboration was focused on the Eco House, where we basically collaborated and contributed to various workshops, which happened after the prototype was built. And it was focused on discussing some of the user feedback and also some of the engineering features it has. We also plan to work with SCAD in basically scaling up this model for their own campus, which is right now on hold due to COVID, but it will be coming soon and probably next year or year after that. And we want to look at how to scale this up further on eco-village level or even developing the sustainable transit-oriented development. So the question is, how can we do that, and how we can get all the stakeholders interested in it? So what we need is basically, like for any other sustainability focused projects, we need to have a balance in these three factors, which is economic factors, then the environmental aspects, and also the social aspects. The whole business case becomes a business case only when the economy of it is going to work out, when people are going to achieve the profits they need to achieve to run the businesses. Also, when people get the houses they desire, and also the product is properly placed in the market, and at the same time it achieves the sustainability targets as well, that country, that association, or even what we should be aspiring for. So has this done before? And you have seen so many case studies have been discussed in this conference, and few more Jitesh is going to talk about.
I think, again, as I said, it will flow directly from what Paul has just mentioned. It's very important for a project to be viable. The land is made available, or grant is made available, and I think this is what I'm going to talk into the to case studies. This is the one that we are currently working with a couple of clients in Bath, and we're developing this affordable residential scheme where the land is available on a subsidized rate, and it's a brownfield development. As you can see, it's not too much of construction on the site at the moment, so removing this would not be too much of a challenge in terms of sustainability goals we like to achieve. And then, of course, the buildings are following the codes that we want to achieve on this. And this is done in collaboration with the city council. I will not stress too much on the case studies because I think we want to cover the methods and mechanism later. The another project is the one that I worked on when I was in UK and Bristol. This is in Torbay. This is a very successfully delivered project on a landfill site, and this land was made available by the council to sovereign housing, 144 residences. Again, the model that Paul mentioned, part of this is available on market and part of this is catering to absolute needy, in demand sort of workers and health workers and social workers as well. So social housing covers about 70% and 30% is 35% is about for sale. And the first challenge to us was that we want to make it sustainable and it needs to look good as well because it needs to look aspirational. It shouldn't look like we are gonna have a place at a cheaper rate, but then it is not gonna make any impression on the buyers. So that was also addressed quite interestingly, and in an impressive manner on this. Yeah. Next one. Now, scaling this further, the number of cities in India, they've got to go vertical, and the technologies do change because up until 4 stories, 5 stories, you can follow similar technology of construction methods and all. But when you go beyond that, and believe me, in India, I think the population is so much that to achieve that, we have to go further up. And to go further up, there are technologies that then become challenging in terms of achieving the sustainability goals. Use of concrete or use of steel comes in play. Use of glass comes in play. I think the problem is that it's finding a balance between the two, and that's what we are doing in Jakarta at the moment. A number of smart cities in India sort of failed. Some of them failed, not all, I can't say, but some of them failed to find that balance. And I think that resulted in sort of creating a vision that is deliverable. So this is a very good example where we are addressing the need of rising middle class. At the same time, we are making sure that we are not derailing our sustainability mission, and we are making sure that we are working closely with the council. And I think the beauty of this is the shared vision to attract young talent, to make sure the land is available, to make sure it's sustainable, and not only on buildings, but also other parts of connectivity, water conservation, and various other points that we need to address as part of community and sustainability goals. Yeah. Next.
Yeah. So the next question becomes basically, how do we achieve this kind of success in Tamil Nadu? And then first thing we basically need to start with is the understanding community needs. Like what I would normally expect is people would want to have better living outcomes and live in the areas which give them, better living spaces than what they are living in right now. So that should be the focus, and then only it makes, let's say, a house an aspirational house. Also, understanding the community needs which are bespoke to that location, bespoke to that culture is a very important point. From there, we need a lot of support from government bodies, be it in the form of subsidized land or some of the policy support or some of the incentives for sustainable focused developments. And having ticked that, then we need financial institutes to support this through green finance. And then we heard Atif talking about there are so many initiatives around it already in India, and then it's basically, how we can access those funds, how and how this can be made feasible for developers and even all the stakeholders. Ultimately, it should give benefits for all. uh, we shouldn't think that if the project is focused on sustainability, it's going to be high cost and it's not going to be profitability focused and so on, because if we do it that way, then it's not going to be successful. So it has to be focused on that it gives benefits to businesses as well, so that the businesses can run. It also focuses on affordability of the end users, so that the initial capital investment is reduced, the operation cost is reduced. It gives a better living conditions in terms of health and well-being, or even mental wellness. It should at the end give a better quality of life, and also long-term benefits for all the stakeholders. One of the examples could be the government achieving its green targets set for the decades or even coming decades. So, and then, the various consultants and all the collaborators and many of the people who are on the call, we could be working together to make a proper business case to make this happen. It, it basically has to start in a very, very holistic fashion, that we start with we start with a vision, we start with a shared vision, which is going to work for various parties. We have a proper benefits case, that this is in terms of dollars, that's what it means. And these are the intangible benefits which are coming out of it. All stakeholders need to be aligned to achieve that. And from there, we develop a plan. And now it may sound very obvious that, that the plan has to be in place, but then lots of ideas like don't really have the proper plan developed. So it's very essential to have that plan in place, short term, long term, with clear timelines and milestones attached to it. And from there, we go to the mobilized community, from various collaborators working together, and even the end users working with collaborators to make this whole vision possible. So there are various potential models which could achieve this, and Jitesh is going to talk about these.
Yeah, so we looked at it from a holistic point of view and thought how we can replicate the eco house that we worked with SCAD and Abed, and looking at what are the possibilities in terms of developing and evolving the model. If you look at the first part, which is the immediate scaling up of an independent dwelling to an eco neighborhood, we would probably need to look at areas where the land is made available through. There are lots of CSR funds. If you might be already, or I mean, many of you might be already aware that there are corporates who are spending through the CSR funds, and there are corporates who are also providing housing to their employees. So if you look at the railway quarters, hospital quarters, university campuses, partnering with government through these opportunities could actually help us scaling up of the opportunity. In this case, the land is available at subsidized cost or zero cost. I think would be very difficult in the current market, but we should probably aim to get more grants and funding support. And then potential outcome, as we say, this is, could be a scaled up from the eco housing independent unit to multiple unit, maybe a combination of few independent houses, few apartments who are probably not too tall, so that we can apply the technology that is possible on the scale of development that we are looking at, and then replicating that either into the eco village concept, where multiple of these nodes could come together and then build around the social infrastructure that we need to provide. Now, in India, there are lots of existing projects like slums or some of the redundant industrial areas. The cities are expanding, and when cities are expanding, it's eating up the spaces where usually the production used to take place in past, right? So the boundaries are going out, and a lot of industries are then turning into as part of the city. Now they can't operate in the city as per the new rules. is if this industrial areas are sort of made available, or the slums are redeveloped with the concept, the idea, I think it sort of makes more sense with a subsidized land. I think land is the major cost in India at the moment, and making sure that multiple models are available in terms of delivering such an idea on ground. Um, if we look at now going to sustainable transit-oriented development, now if you look at the densities around transit-oriented development in India, and rightly mentioned by Connected Cities Group that in India it's unusually high, and to make it financially viable, it sort of needs to stay unusually high. In that case, we probably would need to look at how we could develop vertical units as well, and those vertical units provide enough return to the private sector. And of course, as Atif mentioned, that they partner with the banks, they partner with various stakeholders, but at the end of the day, those banks would look for return, and that has to be made sure to make sure this project gets to the end. A lot of projects, believe me, be it smart cities, be it a lot of other initiatives that I have seen over last decade, um, sort of struggling because at the end, either they are not having enough finances to support it, or not having enough uh, wealth in terms of knowledge, in terms of ability to execute it. So I think we have a real good opportunity here to provide that knowledge, build it together, and look at an opportunity, look at a concept evolution further to deliver in all the three segments that we are looking at.